Welcome back, everyone. It's here. And today I've got some r/BestOf for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the posts, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. This post was collected by Big O Nerd, who still doesn't have a tagline. Tisk tisk. Honestly, mad respect if you make your tagline doesn't have a tagline. The original OP is Talatard5735, and this was posted June 3rd, 2023. Am I the asshole for my reaction to my uncle asking me to give him custody of my little sister? I, 20 female, lost my parents in a car accident almost 2 weeks ago. I have a little sister, 10 female, who is now in my custody. Yesterday, my uncle, 40 male, came to me telling me that my little sister would be better off in the familiarity of a two-parent household, which he and my aunt, about 40 female, could provide. I'll admit my first thought was, hell no. But I kept my composure and I told him I didn't think it was a good idea. He then told me I was in no position to take care of and raise a 10-year-old, and that this way I can finish school and not have to worry about my little sister. I reiterated that it wasn't a good idea and that there was a reason my parents left my little sister in my care. It was specified in their will. He threatened to fight me for custody, and that's when I went off. I told him to fuck off, and that if he wanted to waste money on lawyers for a judge to ask my sister what she wants, then go ahead. I also told him his lying, cheating self had no business fighting for custody of a niece he barely sees. I also threatened to bring up all the family drama if he tried to fight me for custody, and that if he wanted something to spend money on, then to get his sugar baby pregnant. Anyway, my grandma told me I overreacted and that he was just concerned, so now I'm wondering if I was an asshole. You didn't overreact for him threatening to take you to court. Also, some more context. My parents were good with their finances, and so now my little sister and I have a good amount of money to live off of. While I finish school, I have a year left, and get a job. Because of our age difference, I was extremely parentified, and so my little sister is very attached to me. I am in the military as well, National Guard. So when I went away for training, it was very hard for her. With everything that's happened in our current situation, she is more attached than ever. I am 100% sure that if a judge asked her what she wanted, she would say she wanted to stay with me. She even told me once that I couldn't move away, and if I did, I would have to take her with me because what would I do without my big sissy? Anyway, please let me know if I'm the asshole and if I should be worried. I already lost my parents. I can't lose my little sister too. Comments, OK Simple 5495. That's either a nah or a no assholes here. Your reaction is completely understandable. Your uncle does seem to be looking out for both of you. He could have been more diplomatic about the situation or offered support in other ways, but it does sound like he only has good intentions, as misguided as they may possibly be. I raised my sibling and no one offered to help us, even though they all knew we were left living alone on a farm. What little help was offered was appreciated but impossible to accept because we would have been separated, or at worst, he would have been left there completely alone. We didn't want to be apart. We were resentful that family members treated us the way they did, and we had to grow past that. It took a long time. You're dealing with so much right now. It may be best for you and your sister to not make any more major changes for the moment. Is there any way your uncle could offer support in other ways? Help with your sister so she doesn't have to be alone when you need to be away? Help with some living expenses so that you can afford to pay for needed things down the road and won't have to depend on finding work directly after college? Would he allow you both to live there until you're done with school and feel even more ready to do this? I hate to say this, but family court is the most unpredictable system in the entire judicial system. More often than not, the kids end up exactly where they should be. I hope he doesn't take you to court, and if he does, I hope you and your sister are allowed to stay together. I wish you and your sister the best, and please accept my deepest condolences on the loss of your parents. Stand your ground and do what you know is right. Don't allow your pride to get in the way of asking for help when needed. All parents need help, especially single parents. There is a reason for the saying, it takes a village. I personally don't think I can agree with this comment because if he truly had the best intentions in mind, he wouldn't have threatened to take them to court for custody of the sister, especially when a sizable inheritance was gifted to them, and they are financially well off. The uncle, in a sense, is threatening to have them burn their inheritance in order to keep custody of her little sister. That's fucked up. Part of me wonders if maybe OK Simple is allowing their past to influence their comment here. I know that I've certainly been guilty of that on this channel for sure. OP responds, "Thank you so much. Reading this helped to alleviate my anxiety. I'm not worried about housing because my parents own 2 houses, the one we live in now and the one I grew up in. I'm planning to sell the one we live in now because it's more expensive and it still has a lot left on the mortgage, and the other house is much smaller and the mortgage is much cheaper and more paid off. We don't really need his help. I'm planning on asking my aunt, 48 female, and cousin, 25 female, to move in with us. My cousin and I were raised together and she called my dad, Dad, since hers wasn't around, so they can help. The old house is walking distance to my sister's school, so that's a plus as well. I'm certain they'll say yes. I really hope my uncle doesn't pursue this, but if I have to fight him in court, I'll do it. I'll do anything to keep my sister and I together." Hawk fan for life. Not the asshole. Your uncle has no right to try and claim your sister, and it's my guess that he only even brought it up because he thought it would get him access to your money. It was probably a bluff, but in case it wasn't, the only concern I would have if I were a judge is who watches your sister when you have your National Guard duty or are deployed. OP responds, "I hadn't thought about that, but now that I have, the Guard does require you to have a childcare plan in place. Most likely, I will name my aunt and cousin because they're already close to her, but I will have to ask to confirm." Honestly, in my opinion, it's really shameful that the grandma heard that the uncle was willing to take OP to court for custody of the sister who her parents left in her care, and potentially risking draining their inheritance fee, and no, you're just overreacting at the threat of your entire life being torn apart even further after the death of your parents. Update, June 5th, 2023, 2 days later. I want to thank everyone for the support. Reading through the comments really helped to clear the fog in my mind. A lot of people were suspecting abuse or money to be his motivation, and I don't blame them, as this was my first thought too. I have also been sexually abused, but because of my grandparents' reaction, I think the motivation is religion, as him and my grandma are very involved in their Seventh-day Adventist church. While I'm not religious and my parents were Christian, it may have even happened because I was talking to my grandma about sending my sister to a Christian private school because my parents were in the process of getting her in and they really wanted her to go there. I've talked to both my uncle and my grandma and basically told them to leave us alone if they want any type of relationship with us, and have gone limited contact with both of them for the time being. I've notified my chain of command of the circumstances and have filed the appropriate paperwork now that my sister is in my custody. I've also asked my boyfriend, he is studying law at the same school I go to ask his professors if they know any good family law lawyers that they can recommend, and I've gotten a few names. One of them was even willing to do it pro bono under the circumstances, which I am really grateful for. Overall, I think I've gotten most of everything sorted out. I'm taking it one day at a time, and my sister and I have been doing a lot of activities to keep our minds sharp. I've signed us both up for individual therapy as well. Thank you everyone for the advice, and I hope this update finds you well. Comments from Deathwench. You're an amazing sister. Good luck to you both. Also, I would make sure her schools know not to allow any information or allow your uncle or grandma to pick her up. User at Martin2016 comments this. I had a list of people that weren't allowed to pick me up or obtain information on me when I was in school. Make sure that whatever school you enroll your sister in has this option. Sending love and good vibes your way, OP. User Whiskey Businesses 808 comments. I am so sorry for your loss. I'm happy you have resources to turn to and can keep your uncle at bay. My dad is 7th day, and from what I remember, it's odd. Good luck to you and your sister going forward, and don't forget to take care of you. User Halcyon Dreams 36 comments. You got this, honey. A reminder that as you move forward, you can always reach out to parenting threads for the "okay, what the hell do I do with this situation?" questions. That's what they're there for, and raising humans doesn't come with an instruction manual. It sounds like you have solid instincts and good support. Take care of each other, love each other, and you'll figure everything else out. I don't trust any reason why the uncle would want custody 2 weeks after the parents died in a car accident. Either he's a financial vulture or he and the grandmother want to push the younger sister into the religion that they follow. I don't approve of either one. I feel like religion should be your own personal choice. When it comes to the financial aspect, I wouldn't be surprised if he's after maybe potentially some tax benefits, or maybe there's even a clause in the estate of A specific lump sum of money specifically being used to care for the younger sister, and if custody were to change hands, well, perhaps maybe it could be argued that that lump sum should change hands as well. I do not believe the uncle has good intentions if he threatened OP with legal action 2 weeks after her parents died. Anyone who's even had to touch family court, whether being a child going through it or a parent going through it, you know how much time and money that can cost. The mental, emotional, and time strain that it'll also provide as well. Things which are a resource OP is very limited on. Thankfully, I did go and check the original thread, and I found that user OKSimple actually later changed their comment. Sorry for the second comment, OP. I also want to say that I agree with another commenter who said your uncle had no business speaking to you that way or pushing you to relinquish custody. You can do this. I know how precious the bond between siblings like you is. As far as an attorney goes, don't make a move unless he does. He may be bluffing because he will have to pay for an attorney, whereas you will likely qualify for a minimal fee attorney should it come to that. Mediation is usually the first step, and he may find out that he doesn't actually want that responsibility. Ask for help from people you trust, never from social services. I was advised by 8 attorneys that the only thing I did wrong was go to the county for help with therapy for my sibling and I. That set off a chain reaction that has lasted for almost 30 now. Also, I'd like to change my vote to not the asshole and remind you that your sister should be receiving survivor benefits from Social Security. Whoever has custody of her will be her representative payee, meaning they control the money that is supposed to be used for her care. If, for some reason, your sister was removed from your custody, your uncle would likely have to foster and then adopt her. He would also receive an adoption subsidy every month. Again, for her care. I'm not implying that money is his motivation. I'm saying that you should be mindful of that. Also, please contact the Social Security office nearest to you and set up your sister's benefits. She deserves to have as much as you can give her, and those benefits will make a big difference in her life. Your parents worked for that money. It's not a handout. I am very happy that I did some digging and found OKSimple's revised comment. Wonderful advice. This post was collected by Direct Caterpillar 77, and their tagline is, "Satan is not a pogo stick." Original OP is Georgia Apple, posted August 12th, 2016 to r/relationship advice. My, 25 female, boyfriend, 25 male, had a crush on a girl, 25 female. Girl moved away. Boyfriend and I started dating. Girl is moving back. I'm nervous and insecure. My boyfriend of 2 years, Harry, is really close friends with this girl, Rena. Okay, so Harry is a catch. Good looking, smart, funny, really sweet, outgoing, all of that. Rena is the exact same. They both are loved by honestly everyone they meet. Harry used to say Rena was basically the female version of me. I was friends with Harry before we started dating, and knew of Rena but never talked to her. Harry made it really obvious he liked Rena. He said that he was basically just waiting for her to say yes to him so they could date. He would go on and on about how pretty, smart, funny, interesting, etc. she is. Rena rejected him, but always jokingly, and made it seem like one day we'll be together, but not now. Even their families wanted them together, but Rena wasn't interested because she thought Harry was too good of a friend to risk losing in case the relationship went bad. We all lived in the area, and 2 years ago, Rena moved from our area to the other side of the country for work. She had a going-away party that I was invited to. The whole time, Rena and Harry were attached at the hip and acted like a couple, even though they weren't. Then, Rena moved across country. Me and Harry didn't become a couple until a few months after Rena left. We started talking and had a ton in common, so we started dating. We've been together for about 1.5 years, and things are really good with us. Monday, I was at Harry's place when he told me that Rena just called him and said she's coming back home soon and wanted to meet up with him. My heart dropped. He seemed excited to see her again and said he missed her. I've been feeling honest-to-God anxiety for the past few days. Harry had the biggest crush on this girl, and she's prettier, smarter, and more funny, more interesting, etc. than me. When she comes back, what if she decides she wants Harry for herself? How would Harry react if I said I didn't want them being friends anymore? I can tell certain people in our group are interested to see what happens when Rena comes back because everyone knows their history. They kept in touch while she was gone, but Harry's been a really good boyfriend and treated me well, so I thought it was fine. I feel really nervous right now, and I don't know how to handle things. Too long didn't read, boyfriend had a huge crush on a girl before we started dating. Girl moved away, we started dating, girl is coming back. Feeling sick to my stomach, nervous. Top comments. Fitzwilliger. I'm stuck. On one hand, I think it's fair to say, hey, I'm not really comfortable with you having a friendship with Rena. She's always been the one who got away for you, and I'm just not comfortable with this. On the other hand, I think if he's the kind of guy who won't set appropriate boundaries himself going in, he's the kind of guy you shouldn't be dating anyway. So I guess what I'd do in your shoes is observe how he behaves with her, and if it's inappropriate, I'd go find a guy who put me first. Update, March 24th, 2019, 2.5 years later. He ended up breaking up with me about a month after she came back and got back with her. It's been 2 years since this all happened, and I heard through the grapevine they got engaged last weekend. I've moved on, and it's alright, but my heart breaks when I think of how insecure and self-conscious I felt when all this went down. I know I'll eventually find a guy who I won't have any worries about. Until then, I'm chillin'. Too long didn't read, I was right to be worried. Well, that fucking sucks. That basically just means that you were practice, placeholder until Rena got back. That sucks. That's just gross. Hopefully in the past 5 to 7 years you found someone who's far better than that. Because that's what you deserve. Don't forget the Oz Cup is live on Gamersubs until March 9th, and don't forget to use code Oz at checkout. Every purchase made using code Oz supports the channel directly. This post was collected by many questions. They don't have a tagline yet. The original OP is Savon, posted r/AskWomenOver30. Posted December 29th, 2024. My partner turns into Mr. Hyde whenever he's hungry. My partner has a big problem whenever he's uncomfortable. Like if he's hungry or in pain, he'll become surly, prickly, and a little harsh with his words. I've met hangry people, but he's the poster child for it. We've started dating recently, and we've come to an agreement that he'll always eat before meeting me, but when it comes to pain, there's not a lot you can do to avoid it if it comes. Anyone ever face a similar problem? How do you/did you handle your partner's change in personality when he's altered? Edit. Thanks everyone for your feedback. A lot of food for thought. Some extra info. He is on the spectrum, as many of you pointed out as being a possibility. I didn't mention it before because I never knew this could be related to that. He is aware of his hanger issues, but I don't think he's ever taken them too seriously until I pointed out I don't like how argumentative and irritable he gets when he's hungry. He's careful to always eat something before being with me now. He's not awful, at least not for now. He just gets very crabby once in a while. But he has always made the effort to listen and adapt to me every time I've brought something up, and obviously I do the same. So because of this, I don't think it's a complete lost cause, but I will keep my eye out for everything mentioned in the comments. We talk everything out, and we talked about this morning too. He didn't realize he was being argumentative in our last conversation, but he apologizes and said he's going to pay more attention to how he's feeling and asks me to be patient and to work with him while he works on himself, which is fair. I ask for the same grace. Thanks again for everyone's input. Love to hear so many different perspectives. Relevant comments. User Calarosa comments. The early days of dating are supposed to be the honeymoon period when you're on your best behavior. You just started dating recently, and he's already being surly, prickly, and harsh just because he's hungry? And he needs to be reminded to eat before he sees you so he's not awful to be around? Ask yourself if you think you could tolerate being married to someone like that, when you'd be forced to be around him during all sorts of uncomfortable situations. User Green to Feel comments, which downvoted. It's not a reaction to simple discomfort, at least for true hanger, which is low blood sugar. It's an actual emotional symptom of a physical state. I'm not saying that means he can do or say whatever he wants, but it's important to recognize that it can really be a physical issue, not simply someone being a wimp. User Oh my god, do I try responds, I don't think anyone's accusing him of being a wimp or suffering hunger. We're all accusing him of not doing the bare minimum to either A, avoid being hungry, or B, not act like an asshole when he's hungry. This part isn't for you, but for OP. I'm assuming you guys aren't living in a kind of life where your next meal is never guaranteed, and we're just talking about normal hunger. It's ridiculous and unacceptable to be a dick when you're hungry as a day-to-day occurrence. We learn to deal with hunger as children. If you're hungry and you can feel the hanger coming on, the correct thing to do is to either have a snack and not force people to deal with your attitude, or else do what you need to do to not treat others badly because of it. You can let whoever you're with know that you're starting to feel hangry, so you might be quiet for a while, or you can just continue to act like an emotionally regulated adult while you're hungry. It is such a temporary state. Does he expect you to do anything about his hunger? Like, does he just sit there and act like a toddler until someone gets him a snack? If he typically manages it himself, then it's not a total loss, but this behavior happening constantly is not a good sign. I used to be in a relationship where the second that anything minor happened, especially if the guy got slightly hurt, like bumping his toe or a paper cut, he would turn into a major dick, and it would last for at least an hour. It only ever got worse because he wouldn't bother to learn better emotional habits. So I'd caution you to be very careful with this. Sad face. User watching on the sidelines comments, he's got regulation issues and is probably autistic. He needs to sort out his moods as an adult, not you. Hope he responds, he is. I didn't know this was part of it. I'm not sure he knows it himself, but good to know. User cat hair and chaos comments, that does explain a bit, but doesn't excuse how he's aware of the issue, yet has never done anything about it. Nor how it had to be pointed out to him that you don't like when he acts shitty to you due to this. Autism doesn't make him a moron. You shouldn't have had to spell it out for him at his age. How much time and patience are you going to give this dude you just started dating while he works on major things that he should have already dealt with in, like, childhood? How much more of working with him will turn into you having to be his mom? No one's perfect, but that doesn't mean you're obligated to stay with someone who has to be told that it feels bad to be treated poorly. User CatMama2 comments, I suffer from low blood sugar and I can get pretty angry when I'm hungry, but I ensure that I eat my snacks and keep that in check. He needs to keep himself in check because you can't just run around making others miserable when you're hungry or in pain. User Featherworld comments, his lack of self-control is his issue. You're not his mommy who has to tell him what to do and to plan properly. I get hungry and emotional too, but I never take those feelings out on anyone around me. He's immature as fuck, please don't enable him. Sit down and tell him that this is all unacceptable behavior of an adult, but be prepared to walk away if he will implement change in himself. Only he can do that, and inaction is still action. Update. If I hadn't ignored comments on a post here, I could have avoided a 6-month-long emotionally abusive relationship. February 17th, 2016. A bit over a year later. About a year ago, I posted about my then partner's hanger issues, post link, and most of the comments tried to warn me, and I didn't listen. So no surprise here, he turned out to be very abusive. It's true that he seemed to listen and try to adapt, sorta, in the beginning, but that soon went away, and all that was left was hostility, contempt, and emotional abuse. With him, conflict was never about solving a problem, it became about blame, winning, or reframing himself as the victim. If I expressed hurt, he escalated. If I tried to clarify, he twisted my words. If I needed reassurance, he acted as if I was wrong for needing it because there's nothing in the way he acts or talks that would indicate we weren't good, etc. He became increasingly dismissive and impatient with normal human flaws. I started shrinking parts of myself to avoid triggering his reactions. I walked on eggshells, I over-explained. With him, I second-guessed my tone, my timing, even my facial expressions. Warmth and affection became conditional, something I had to earn. At a certain point, he started saying I embarrassed him by how I acted in public, or in private he'd say that I was too much. My saving grace was being over 30 because I know myself enough to not think those were valid complaints. Anytime he'd say shit like that, my first thought was, he must be angry and trying to hurt me, instead of outright taking his words and the truth about who I am as a person. The most confusing part was that he wasn't always cruel. There were calm periods, affection, and moments of care. That inconsistency kept me hopeful for the future and made me forgive the rest of his behavior as flukes. The escalation of it all was subtle to me, but by the end I felt emotionally exhausted, hyper-vigilant, and unsure of myself in ways I had never experienced before. I lost my appetite, I was losing hair, I couldn't sleep, I had trouble engaging with other people. I was losing contact with my friends because they didn't like him, and because if I spent too much time with them, he'd then become sullen and either stonewall or punish with words. I never thought I'd ever find myself, especially nowadays, in an abusive relationship of any kind. I always thought I'd be able to clock it and leave immediately. I never felt like I couldn't leave. I was literally choosing him and staying with him over and over. Sometimes I'd have moments of clarity where I'd make up my mind to end it, but then he'd act all sweet and kind and I'd melt and choose to stay again. God, do I understand that. I now understand that anger issues shouldn't be ignored no matter how they first show up. Right now, I'm healing, but word to the wise, if over 70 people comment on your post telling you something is not okay, it's probably a good idea to listen. If you've been through something like this or similar, how do you deal with the disappointment in yourself? I'm still cringing at how much I let slide/ignored while so many people around me could see what was happening so clearly. Relevant comments. Inevitable bet 4834. First of all, I am glad you left. Second of all, I'm glad the advice you got on your last post was like a beacon. It's really easy to stay in an abusive relationship. A lot of this has to do with our socialization as women. Him being autistic must have made things harder. I see a lot of cruel behavior explained away with neurodivergence. I was in an abusive relationship. She was my best friend for decades. One thing I learned after ending it was, focus on the impact of someone's behavior, not what you think their intentions might be. Focus on the impact. Focus on your intuition. Focus on the pattern. Without this, many of us invalidate our experiences and feelings. We tell ourselves, no, they're a good person. Also, I found it helpful to read literature on intimate partner violence. Why Does He Do That by Lundy Bancroft is a good resource. It's free to download online. User Vanilla Seltzer comments, one thing I learned, tell ourselves they are a good person. Thanks for saying this so clearly. Me and my gut make a great team at venting who belongs in my life. Now that I actually listen to it, it gets a little glitchy when it's feelings around someone I already care about. Breaking it down like this helps. I highly agree with the book recommendation. I wasn't expecting it to apply to me since I thought at the time that I bought it that my husband wasn't violent. Abuse can look like a lot of things besides getting physically assaulted. A little over 6 years ago, I recognized so much of my marriage in this book that I tried to leave him the first time that week. I succeeded about a month later, and it's now 6 years out, and I'm happier than I knew possible. 5 stars for Lundy and the helpful Reddit strangers that helped us find the way out. User Lost Effect 4955. Did you grow up in an abusive home or have a narcissistic parent? I didn't see a lot of abuse patterns because I was conditioned from the abuse I experienced growing up. OP responds, I did indeed. Yeah, my therapist said the reason I didn't see what my friend saw was because his love felt like home to me. Melting smiley face emoji. User Phil the Bird Feeder comments, I completely relate. Do not be disappointed in yourself. You were stuck in the cycle of abuse. We all know that men shouldn't hit us, but we have no training or education at all on emotional and psychological abuse. You can't know what you don't know. You also were keeping yourself safe. You were terrified. Every moment was spent wondering if you had upset him, would upset him if you did XYZ, or worrying about future instances of upsetting him and how you could avoid it. It's sinister. It's incomprehensible because you'd never do anything like what he did. You couldn't fathom being so cruel. So it's hard to recognize what's happening. You don't deserve to feel disappointed. You deserve a hug. Healing is tough and scary, but you got out. Remind yourself every day that you were safe and that you saved yourself when you were finally able to do so. When I was dealing with something similar, I was always asking myself the question of, do I actually deserve anything better than this? Will I actually be happier? Could I actually find something better than this? Am I the one who's in the wrong here? Maybe they're right about me. Because of everything going on, it'd be really difficult to break off. What if they do something to me or do something to ruin me because we broke off? Would they cause damage to me because we ended things? And these thoughts kind of hover with you at night. They linger, they fester, they sit there with you. There are nights where you have immense doubt and you wonder if maybe you should finally just pull the plug and see what happens. But you wake up, you sweep everything under the rug, you put a smile on and you walk out and you're ready for whatever comes next. Or that's what you tell yourself. But eventually, as I've alluded to and explained before, that rug starts to become lumpy and harder to ignore. Becomes guiltier and guiltier, and you know that that rug should not be that lumpy. But you've swept so much under that rug that it's now shameful to even look under it, to even try to clean underneath it. So, may as well just never look and just ignore the lumps, even if it's getting harder and harder to every day. That was the thought pattern that I kept finding myself in, and it took a lot to finally lift that rug up and clean underneath it. It took a lot of effort, and it was fucking difficult, and I hated myself every moment that I spent cleaning that, and I was so disappointed in myself for letting that rug be as lumpy as it was. It took a lot of time and a lot of self-care and a lot of realization to realize that rug got lumpy, because it was an attempt to survive, and it was all the tools that I had in my tool belt to make it through what my brain was trying to figure out and understand. As cringe as it is to bring up BoJack Horseman at a time like this, there's an episode that involves Diane, and she's realizing that she's unhappy with her current relationship, and one of the things that she says is that while she's living this dream life, if she squints, it looks perfect, everything looks amazing, and it's exactly what she wants, but she's getting tired of squinting. When you squint, you're actively ignoring the full picture, everything else that's wrong around you, and you're focusing on the positives. Whether you're lifting the rug up or no longer squinting your eyes, it takes a lot of effort to leave situations like this. Which is also why I fundamentally hate it when Reddit goes, "You're the asshole to yourself." That's not what they need to hear right now. Even if you're trying to show some tough love and tell them that they're being unnecessarily cruel to themselves by staying in this situation, that doesn't help their situation. While some people might understand the tough love or be receptive to it, others might interpret it as, "You're right. I am an asshole in this situation, and this is what I deserve." Sorry for the vomiting of the internal monologue here. This is something that I'm still actively navigating even a couple years later. Hey, welcome to the outro. Don't forget the Oz Cup is on sale until March 9th, so grab it while you can and use code Oz at checkout. Every purchase made supports the channel directly. They also sell non-caffeinated stuff and even sleeping formulas, which are actually really good and have helped me kind of get my sleep schedule put back together. And with all that, I'll be seeing you all tomorrow.